Rocksteady Xebec just looked at a possessed Saturn and called him the world itself. Every lie that the world government ever told about God Valley is now making sense. We're not watching a simple pirate battle anymore. This is where the truth of the One Piece world is finally being revealed and the curtain is being pulled back on 800 years of propaganda. The world government sold us this story about Rocks leading a crew of psychopathic mercenaries who'd backstab each other for pocket change. But the latest chapter of One Piece does a complete 180 on this narrative. Shiki's actively protecting Shaki from getting grabbed by opportunistic pirates, not because he wants it for himself, but because he respects what Rayleigh's trying to do. Blackbeard rolls up to help Rocks with absolutely nothing to gain except showing respect for a captain who's trying to protect his family. His exact words are, "Don't sweat it, you always end up picking up the tab anyway." So Rocks has been taking care of his crew this whole time, paying for their drinks, looking out for them, despite this mercenary reputation that he has. Even Kaido, who just committed Grand Theft Devil Fruit on Big Mom 30 seconds earlier, he shows up in full dragon mode, ready to throw down against impossible odds. These aren't the actions of selfish monsters. These are pirates with a code, with loyalty, with actual human connections. The world government desperately wants us to forget that this existed. I think all of us are tired of making excuses for Garp. This man has been offered admiral position multiple times, he's turned it down to avoid serving celestial dragons directly, but somehow he's never questioned why certain islands just vanish, why non-affiliated nations keep having accidents. He's standing in the middle of a genocide here, watching civilians get mowed down for sport, calling Sengoku like, "Yo, this can't be real, right?" Meanwhile, Sengoku's basically confirming that anyone who asks too many questions gets disappeared. The writing wasn't just on the wall for Garp, it was in neon lights with arrows pointing at it. Look at Garp and look at his son Dragon, who's having a complete breakdown watching Marines enable mass murder. The kid tranquilized a celestial dragon in order to save Kuma, knowing his entire unit could get executed for this. This is the difference between choosing a path of ignorance and pretending you're this big character of justice like Garp versus doing the right thing like the young dragon. Garp wanted to chase Roger around without dealing with messy realities. Dragon saw those realities and said absolutely not, he won't tolerate it. Can we appreciate the audacity of young Kaido for a moment? He watched Big Mom secure the Azure Dragon Fruit, easily one of the most broken zone devil fruits in existence, and he decided, yep, that's mine now. He bonked her with his club, grabbed the fruit midair, ate it, and had the nerve to grin about it too. This recontextualizes their relationship. When Big Mom showed up to Wano talking about "you owe me a life debt," we thought maybe she saved him once in the past. No, Big Mom's been holding a 38-year-old grudge because he literally mugged her for god tier power because the devil fruit was supposed to have been given to Katakuri. Then we have the reveal of Rocks' true name, which is Davy D. Xebec. He's a direct descendant to Davy Jones. This really does disrupt the narrative of his story. The world government has been systematically erasing the Davy bloodline for entire centuries. Now the world government are using the descendants of the Davy clan as weapons against Rocks. Rocks reveals that there are so many more Davy clan members on God Valley. They've been hunting these people forever while pretending that they've just discovered them. Then there is this connection to Lulusia, as Eris tells Rocks that her and Blackbeard will meet him there, the island that gets erased from existence 38 years later. Blackbeard's lineage connects to two islands that the world government had erased from existence. This isn't coincidence, it appears to be a pattern with bits of the story that we still don't know about. We also get panels of Dragon running with baby Shanks while Eris flees with baby Teach. It hits different when you realize what these two parallel panels represent. These are two future Yonko, destined rivals, both saved by people making desperate promises that they might not be able to keep, both of them saying, "I won't let you die," to the child that they are holding. Dragon's carrying his boss's child while simultaneously watching his entire worldview crumble. All of the ideals that he upheld about justice, about the Marines protecting people, it's shattered in real time at God Valley. This is the exact moment that the Revolutionary Army was actually conceived. It was born from a young Marine watching his own organization enable genocide while he saves a baby who'll grow up to become one of the government's biggest headaches. At the end of chapter 1162, Rocks calls Imu the world itself. He isn't being poetic. Imu is able to manifest through any high-ranking government official like they are just vessels. The domain reversal ability that turns people into demons. Saturn sensing something being born from the destruction at God Valley. What if the physical world and Imu are fundamentally connected? What if damaging the world enough actually weakens Imu's control? This could be why the world government freaks out about ancient weapons so much, not just because they are powerful, but because they might be capable of hurting Imu directly by damaging the world itself. Every flashback panel of Rocks has this supernatural darkness which feels a bit ominous. It seems like deliberate foreshadowing on Oda's part. We're watching Imu turn giants into demons at Elbaf right now. The same power could possibly be used on Rocks himself. Imagine it, the strongest pirate of his era, driven by righteous fury over his family's persecution. Suddenly he has his free will ripped away, he becomes Imu's weapon, and he's turned against everyone on God Valley. This is when Roger and Garp would actually need to team up, not against Rocks the revolutionary, but against Rocks the demon who is being corrupted and is threatening everyone because he's possessed by Imu. The heroic victory becomes a bit of a mercy killing. No wonder Garp never talks about God Valley. How do you explain that your greatest triumph was putting down a man who was right about everything before having his humanity stolen from him? The official story of Roger's motivations at God Valley never really made sense. Roger treats everyone as equals regardless of race or status. So why is he deciding to beat up Rocks and protect the celestial dragons and their slaves instead of stopping their genocide? From the offset, Roger came for a single reason, which was to save Sharky. But if Rocks gets transformed into Imu's puppet, suddenly Roger has no choice but to fight, not because Rocks is evil, but because he is being controlled by the big bad. This explains Roger's sudden obsession with finding the truth about God Valley. He saw firsthand what the real enemy could do, steal someone's humanity and turn them into a weapon against their own cause. That's the kind of thing that would drive anyone to seek answers at any cost. God Valley isn't random. It was a trap 18 years in the making. Ever since Rocks infiltrated Merijo and challenged Imu directly, the location was chosen specifically because Rocks' family was there, because Davy refugees were there, because Imu knew exactly how to force Rocks to fight on their terms. Every major player we know was shaped by this moment. Dragon's Revolution, it was birthed from witnessing genocide here. Roger's final journey, sparked by learning terrible truths and about the existence of Imu, Garp's eternal shame and silence, Teach inheriting his father's will through different means, Shanks growing up knowing he was saved from something horrible that he can't quite remember. The unfortunate thing about the God Valley incident is that everyone lost here. There weren't any winners. The Rocks pirates lost their captain and eventually scattered. The Marines lost their innocence. The civilians lost their lives. Even the world government, in their victory, created the very forces that would eventually challenge them in the future. Dragon exists because of God Valley. The Revolutionary Army exists because a young Marine couldn't stomach what he was seeing. Roger found the One Piece because God Valley showed him something that needed to be found. Every survivor carried a piece of truth forward, and now all of these pieces are converging in the present timeline of One Piece. What's going on presently at Elbaf rhymes with the events of God Valley, but there is one crucial difference. Luffy won't be tricked into fighting the wrong person. He won't be manipulated into becoming the government's unwitting enforcer. The pattern's are identical. There's a government that is refusing to submit, then systematic elimination of the threats occurs. Imu takes direct action when standard forces fail, but this generation knows that the real war that is going on isn't between the Marines and the pirates. They have already seen the threat of the Gorosei in action at Egghead Island. Rocks might have lost, but his will lived on through his son. Through the pirates who survived, through the Marines who couldn't accept injustice, through every person who carried forward a fragment of truth from the God Valley incident. The biggest lie of God Valley wasn't that Garp was this big hero. The biggest lie was that anybody had actually won. Everyone lost on that day. The world lost, and we've been living in the aftermath since. 38 years later, we're getting the rematch. The same players but from a different generation are here, and they are up against the very same enemy but on a different battlefield. battlefield. I'm really excited for the remainder of the God Valley incident flashback and then returning to Elbaf to see what happens there. Now we have reached the point of the video where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What are your thoughts about the latest goings on in One Piece? If there's anything that I've forgotten to mention about God Valley and its link to Elbaf, then let me know by continuing the discussion in the comments. And lastly, thanks for making it to the end of this one, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video.
A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.